thank you very much for joining us today with this I'm multi-entity with Xero, get me out of here session. And by way of introduction, my name's David Tuck. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Mayday. We are mending month end, starting with the pain points of being multi-entity as a business. We'll have the opportunity to pick up a few sort of specific points between Max and I in the coming minutes. We're just over a year live at Mayday with our intercompany modular functionality to automate intercompany recharges, bank reconciliation across the group, and keeping your intercompany loan accounts in balance. And we're really excited to be doing this webinar. Now, our customers are all Xero users, businesses that have gone multi-entity, either within the same territory or across different territories. And we time and time again encounter this sort of misconception that being multi-entity is incompatible with working with Xero as an accounting system. And actually quite the opposite. There are so many amazing opportunities to scale with Xero as a multi-entity business, hence this series, hence this webinar today. And just really thrilled to be collaborating with Max, collaborating with Crezco. They've done incredible things over the last couple of years, and you know, it's really exciting for us that we are the last two winners of the Xero Emerging App Partner of the Year Award with Crezco in 2022. And this is almost a sort of official, we should have got an actual baton, but it's almost like an official baton handing ceremony with us collaborating for a webinar today. It'll be a quick webinar. I want it to be a reflection of how quick and easy it is to recharge and pay, transfer and balance with Crezco and Mayday. And yeah, before we get into just that, I'll hand over to Max to give an intro from his and Crezco side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you said, it's quite a nice part of the baton around. I mean, we were super thrilled to win the upcoming kind of app of the year last year, and we know how much we got out of it, and for you guys as well. And we soon realized, no matter the size of companies that are still on Xero, when you look at maybe the smaller companies started out 10-15 years ago, and they're now getting to quite a sizable company, and that's what we're seeing with Crezco, and so hence why with Mayday it makes sense. But yes, for us, so we're a payments app, an all-in-one payment solution, as we like to call it. We look after all the payments in, all the payments out, and also the international payments. Hence why for multi-entity, no matter if you're in the UK, but also if you've got entities abroad, you can still manage it within your Xero account that then links into the Crezco account to pay those balances off. So we'll show you exactly how that works. We kind of pride ourselves in being the first kind of B2B focused only payment app, and that's where we want to be. Just because it's been left behind so much. You can't just tap your phone like you do at Pret with a business invoice. So we wanted to streamline that as much as possible, whether that's your payables or your receivables, and also your multi-entities. So that's a little bit on us, and we'll show a little bit how easy it is to pay, and we'll give a few examples of current clients and how they're currently doing that between them.
Amazing. So we're going to kick off with two scenarios.
Yeah, go for it.
The first is recharge and pay. So I'm going to take the recharge element first, and then Max is going to take the pay side of things. So this is where within your group, you've got costs and all revenues generated in one of your related entities, some or all of which need to be recharged to other related entities. That might be central overhead costs that need to be apportioned out. And today, to do this well as part of your monthly management accounts process is a really painful, time-consuming process of line-by-line identification of the relevant costs and revenues, calculation of what the recharges should be, and then asynchronous postings into each of the respective Xero entities. So I'm going to show you just how easy it is to do that in the Mayday Crezco enhanced world. So
So
now
what would be for you, David, like what would be the exact type of business for this? I mean, take me as a
yeah, amazing. So we're talking multi-entity business. That might be, physical location business with different business entities for each of their different physical locations, or it might be that the business has expanded internationally and therefore has opened up a separate entity in each of the territories, which is the example we've got here with our 3-entity group, who can now run those recharges in just minutes each month through recharge rules. So if we think Xero's bank rules apply to intercompany recharges, to match the relevant transactions according to any combination of these conditions in Xero, to tell the rule how those transactions should be treated for recharge purposes, doing that across all of their different cost and revenue situations. They might need to mark up some of those costs in making recharges. They might have revenues that they need to recharge as well, where one entity has generated third-party sales, some or all of which belong to other related entities in the group. And so now, once they have those rules, there might be a few seconds to update them each month for things like changes in headcount. But calculating and posting those recharges is really as simple as kind of running the depreciation journal in Xero, choose the month they want to run the recharges for. They get this, which is all of their different transactions from each entity's P&L for the month, the relevant recharge rule applied. So no more having to line by line identify, no more having to manipulate within spreadsheets, just running down this list, checking happy with our transactions being treated, making any overrides where there are outlier transactions, and then all of the different entity-to-entity recharges between the different group entities and choosing how they want them posted, draft or fully authorized, where relevant, what currency, and then simultaneously posting them into each Xero entity. So Harriet Hope, who's the financial controller of one of our customers, Bliss, this used to be a kind of day a month, manual, painful, intimidating as part of month end. Big job. It is now a 3 to 5 minute review, report by exception, tick box task.
Yeah. So did you used to kind of export it all, or just do it all in Xero? Because we find it as well is a lot of people think they outgrow Xero as well, right? We have clients that are a lot larger than they think they should be on Xero and thinking, oh, should I move to SAP? Should I, and so on. But from what you're showing here, it's not always the case, right?
Absolutely not. And so the common one today will be you export the account transactions report from Xero and manipulate that within a spreadsheet to be able to then line by line to identify and calculate the recharges and then come back and post into Xero. So you can do all of that. I mean, it's prone to human error. It's incredibly inefficient and time consuming. Now, all of that is done for you and outputting in a way you want to, like the kind of the invoice and bill. You can post as journals if you want, but in our case, we're talking invoice and bill. The invoice and bill is posted into the relevant entities and then ready to be paid.
Exactly, which we find amazing because a lot of on our cases, we have two cases: is people that potentially are using something like this and they are generating an invoice. What's quite cool, and I'll show you afterwards, is you can pull through the bills within Xero, and you're basically then treating it as the standard pay run at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of your quarter. And they don't have to blink twice about it. So if it's already there, then great. We then have the other people that are kind of creating manual bills, which is a little bit less streamlined, but same again, it's incredibly prone to error. When we're also talking about intercompany recharges, they tend to be on the more sizable side of things, especially when we're looking at the international ones. We've got a few clients that are probably moving over between £500,000 and £1 million to dollars, or into like Canadian dollars as well. Obviously, first of all, you don't want to get that calculation wrong, because you then need to balance your books afterwards if you do send the wrong amount. And two, you want to make sure it's going between the right accounts and the right companies, right? So I can see why this is, especially if the invoice is already generated, then for us it's great.
Amazing. Well, that's that's your intercompany recharges calculated. And Max, I'll hand over to you for the Crezco side.
Sure. So what I'll do, let me bring up my screen here. So we should be able to see on our side. So this is Crezco. Say, for example, you've just ran your intercompany recharge with Mayday. It's posted as a bill in your Xero account. Our app is already connected to that Xero account. So all we need to do is import the bills to pay. So how do we do that? We have an automatic sync where you can basically just import the payments and then click Xero bills to pay. So once that's been imported, because you've already potentially synced that to a contact, which would have the contact details of the entity if it's in the UK, then you've got an account number and a sort code. If it doesn't have, say for example, it's an entity in Australia, and they're going to be using an account number and a BNB code, I think it is in Australia. Obviously, you can't have that in a Xero contact form because you can't store international payment details within Xero or in the UK. So when you've imported it, you'll have something that will flag and it will say it's got incomplete details. You can then basically edit the payee, add in the correct amount. So you'll just enter BNB. And then the next time you import it, you won't have to do that again. So once it's been set up once, you don't have to worry and you can just continuously import those payments in. So for the sake of keeping it super easy, say for example, we've imported one, I've done quite a sizable one, which is going to my French entity in France from our Barclays business account here at Crezco Limited. It is simple as either paying this by itself, but what you can also do is create a pay run. So as you can see here, some of these have already been set up. So this can be you're potentially doing a supplier run at the same time, whether it's in the UK, but also in Europe. You can then create a pay run instead of having to do those one by one. You can do them all at the same time. For this case, just to show you the FX transfers and so on, we'll keep it as a single line here. So I'm going to pay that. So I'm potentially the finance director or I'm the director. I have access to the bank account. I'm allowed to move this type of money from the account. But as you can see, you're making sure that, hey, I'm going to be moving this amount of money to this account. So this will be XYZ LTD or INC if it's in America, for example. And this is the IBAN attached. It's all hard coded, so there's no fat finger errors at all. Everything is going to be pre-populated automatically. We then go to the next screen and we help you with the international payment. What does that mean? From a UK to abroad perspective, a lot of people that we're seeing that are doing intercompany recharges tend to just go to their bank account or just to their bank. So if we were with Barclays, just for the sake of making it easier, I'm going to go to Barclays and say, okay, we want to move £250,000 to Europe. Barclays are probably going to hit you with about 2 to 3% on the bottom line, on the straight exchange rate. They'll say, oh, it's only going to cost you £18 to do the transfer. But when you actually look at the rate that they're giving you, it's about 3% on what it should be. So what we're doing is we're taking on the exchange rate for you. So all the UK bank is seeing is you're doing a GBP account, a GBP payment to another GBP payment account, which is your Crezco holded account. And then we do the transfer for you and then basically pop it out on the other side where it needs to go. So we can do this in Europe, in America, in Australia. There's about 70 different currencies. Let me just refresh there. As you can see, we're refreshing the rate quite often just to make sure you always get the exact one. But in this case, you can check this with xe.com if you want. We should be about 0.4% above the interbank exchange rate. And that's, in our eyes, probably the lowest that you can get. Obviously, the higher amounts you go, the lower that goes, and it'll go to about 0.2, and then it only costs you 50p to actually send that transaction. You then click confirm. In this case, you'll be redirected to the bank account. Depending on the size, you might have to do a manual funding into the account, which we'll show the details of. In the UK, luckily enough, you can actually do this through your Barclays account, or if you've got a corporate account, because you have higher payment limits, you can actually do this through open banking, which is super cool because the upper limit is £1 million. Login, payment will be pre-authorized, click pay, and then the payment will arrive. What's super cool is the payment cutoff time, especially for us, is around 4 o'clock. So if you pay anything between 4 o'clock, you tend to get it the same day. So at the end of the month, if you don't have to wait those 5 working days for something to hit your account in America, it just arrives straight away. And then obviously, because it's synced with Xero, we'll push back the exchange rate that you actually had and you paid at. So in your journals, you'll be able to see exactly that invoice has been paid by, as you said, 250,000 euros. It was paid for 2,100, was it 218,000 pounds, and the exact exchange rate will be posted back into Xero. So making the reconciliation very easy after, which I'm sure I think Mayday helps with as well.
Amazing. And what's just so striking for me, Max, with that is just how you need to get all of your bookkeeping done at month end in order to calculate your recharges. But once you're at that start line, you can be done between our collective systems within 10 minutes, right? Like you can, you've calculated, you've posted your recharges, you've got the invoice and bill there, you've pulled that through into Crezco, you've got that rate, you're not having to go out to a separate FX portal to book in an exchange rate and then make the transfer, and then that arrives and then they send the money on. Just how quickly this can now be done and ticked off, and the funds are where they need to be, accurately so. It's transformative.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think a lot of it is also when you I think on the admin side, it was very heavy beforehand, but also when you look at cross-border payments, is especially for some of the companies that we're dealing with, and even if they're smaller amounts, they're quite worried as soon as it goes over potentially £20,000. It's like, oh, maybe I should get an FX broker involved. Maybe I should go to someone else that will help me out. And that's just time on someone's hand. It's like a director doesn't really want to call a broker that is probably going to give him a rate that and is then going to move after 2 days. And when am I going to move that money? I'm actually moving it into their account, which is not my account. Where exactly is where are my funds? When will it arrive? We try and be as transparent as possible, but also give everybody the tools to do everything within their current platform. So you're using Xero, great. You can literally look your end-to-end business processes in, as you said, in about 10 minutes at the end of the month. And the same with payroll and bills and so on.
Yeah, and it's what we like to think about is like time to valuable work as a finance team. It's not that this work is not important, it's critically important, but then the insight and the analysis, the more sort of stimulating, further up the hierarchy of needs work that finance teams want to be doing, that clearly they can't be prioritizing until and unless this work is done. And so the extent to which we can accelerate that is transforming their ability to get on the front foot and deliver that more value-added work.
Yeah, it's the transparency that, I mean, we keep it, and you guys as well, is as much transparency we can give people and give them real-time data to actually work on is what we're there for. So, and payments is typical for that. And people always come to, even when you're looking at domestic payments, is like, someone's paid me, but I don't receive the funds until 5 to 7 working days afterwards. Imagine your 2 entities, right? It's like, for 5 days, you don't know where your company accounts are at. And for a finance professional, that's quite difficult. How are you going to balance your books? Are you doing it on the month end? Are you doing it 7 days afterwards? What happens if it doesn't go wrong? What happens if it gets stuck? So that's where we want to speed up those processes as well on there.
Amazing. And then let me just pick up now for the other element of this, where, because we've talked about the intercompany charges, the invoice and bill that would get paid through Crezco. But the other situation is where you're funding a group entity, making the original loan, making repayments of that loan. So you do that through Crezco with what Max just showed. You'd make the transfer of the relevant funds seamlessly. And then you've got intercompany loan accounts. Intercompany loan accounts, which in theory should always be in balance. Entity A, what it shows it's owed by entity B is the same as what entity B shows that it owes entity A. And any finance professional who lives this pain knows it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because our loan accounts can fall out of balance for 3 reasons. Posting asymmetries, so what gets correctly posted as a loan transaction in one entity gets incorrectly posted as income or cost in the other entity. Foreign exchange, £100,000 loan to the US subsidiary does equate to $125,000 today, but then FX rates move. And so next month, actually, that £100,000 loan needs to be $130,000 liability in the US entity's balance sheet in order for those amounts to consolidate out. The need to charge interest on loan balances as well. The third potential culprit of why, when loan accounts go wrong, and they always go wrong at the worst time, right? Like year end, crucial funding event, a transaction, and finance ends up spending days unraveling every transaction in the loan account to try and put Humpty Dumpty back together again, having identified the culprit or culprits. Now, you've made your loan account transfers through Crezco. You can have the peace of mind with Mayday that never again will your loan accounts fall out of balance through Mayday Balancer, because A, we're constantly checking your loan accounts to check that there is posting symmetry between the two, so where we can match the transaction on one side to the other, flagging to you where there are any one-sided postings as a cause of potential discrepancies so that you can rectify the posting asymmetry, enabling you to one-click easily post the relevant FX adjustment to bring the loan accounts back into balance, and doing the same thing with any interest that should apply on the loan, so that that is posted into each of the 2 entities simultaneously, much like your intercompany recharges can be with Mayday Recharger. So invaluable peace of mind as a multi-entity business with loan account balances, that they will never again fall out of balance, because you've got that easy ability to spot any asymmetries, put through the relevant adjustments in 3 to 5 minutes each month as part of your month-end process.
Yeah, no, exactly. We actually have a client that does exactly this at the end of the month each time, and because they have an entity in Canada, in America, and in the UK, and exactly like this, they basically have 3 entities that they're balancing out. What's quite cool on the Crezco side as well is, as if you posted this as a bill, so what we've set up is they've linked their Canadian bank account, their American bank account, and their UK bank account to Crezco, and then they just do a receivables payment link to each other. So they would get all of the stuff, the calculations from Mayday, post that into Xero, pull that through into Crezco, and then create 3 payment links to then balance out each one. So that then as well is linked to as if they were invoicing each other. So they've got a big green pay now button on each one, and they pay from the correct account. If it's from the US account to the UK account, same again, the currency will automatically calculate itself, and then it's all balancing up. And same again, it literally funds arrive in the same day. As you said, at the month end, it's quite important to have the cash in the right area of the business.
Amazing. So that was everything we planned to cover today. Just going to throw it open to the floor. Does anyone have any questions about multi-entity with Xero with Crezco and Mayday? So please do fire them through on the chat. You can see one question. Oh, you go, Max. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've got one question for you guys, because I know that you've just released Balancer. What's the next step?
Yeah, great question. So plenty of exciting stuff to do to continue to sort of enhance Recharger, Bragg, and Balancer. They're all performing really well as products. But there's on Balancer, there's a couple of things that we're really excited about. Like we flagged the discrepancies right now. More we can do in terms of enabling you to rectify them, like spot where the other posting asymmetry will be, the one that you have posted as income or bills, so that you can rectify it all within Mayday without having to go and jump into Xero to do that. So yeah, we're just really excited because we've got more and more kind of paying customers out, which is thrilling, great feedback. The kind of the emerging app award, like the product is performing brilliantly. And now we get to do even more to deliver more value on top of it, and start to cater to people's kind of reporting requirements as well, on top of what we do, which is really exciting. Not building a reporting tool, but in terms of the kind of reporting they require from a kind of an audit trail perspective about how things have been done previously with us.
Yeah, because I'm guessing what's kind of the typical size of clients that are using Mayday?
So we're seeing sort of 2 to 5 person in-house finance team.
Okay.
Yeah. How about yourselves?
I mean, it's probably fairly similar. We either have people that have sizable payroll. When I say sizable, it's not probably over the 10 payroll threshold is where it starts to get quite monotone at the end of the month, where you're just clicking through your bank account, or that are in certain industries that are bill heavy. So construction tend to be the ones that crop up a lot, because there's a lot of smaller invoices, but also larger invoices. And then even now, so we're actually seeing clients that aren't using us for bills or payroll at all, but just using us for the international payment side. So that might be for company recharges, but also they have one kind of big end of month supplier that they need to pay, or they've got a couple of consultants that are in Eastern Europe or in the Philippines and so on, and they tend to use it for that. We're quite excited to also be releasing international receivables at the end of the month, and that will basically allow us to look at even like the smaller size of clients. Is maybe you're a one-man band consultant and you're now kind of bidding people in America, is like, how do I receive those funds? I don't want to get hit by a 5% fee by Stripe, and I just want to get the money as quick as possible. So that's what we're kindly working on at the moment.
Amazing. Well, look, I can't see any more questions come through, which is great. So it looks like, this has been a great session. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to Max and Crezco, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thanks, David.